Welcome back to the channel, lads and ladies. In before this year 2 blows himself up, you can see I and another fighter were chasing him down all the way to our base, low altitude, and he decided to go for the Aloha snack bar answer to his problems. Wouldn't recommend. Another thing I wouldn't recommend is hanging out right in front of the rear gunner of a PE-3. You can see we're ducking in and out of his lines of fire. We took a couple of hits, and that is something that we're capable of doing, but it's not something I would really count on in the J21. Anyway, yes, we're back in the J21, and you can see we've greatly increased our performance by adding some cheeky decals. Now this PE-3 is exactly where we want him, and we don't spend any more time than we need to getting our rounds on target. No need to stay behind him for him to finish us off. And now we get jumped by a Yak 9 out of nowhere. He's got more energy than me. A little bit of a scissors into a zoom, and he's exactly where we want him to be. People underestimate the J21's ability to maintain energy in a straight line, and so you can pop into these quick maneuvers and have just enough energy to do some good defensive flying. Again, this aircraft kind of feels like a Focke-Wulf. But why am I sharing this particular video with you? Well, I thought that was kind of nice. But overall, I've done a lot of talking about how Air RB is sort of boring and not as much fun as flying ground vehicles in CAS, and I think that's not quite fair. I'm showing you that I sat on the runway for about 10 minutes because I was taking care of my girls, so you can AFK in Air RB. It's not something you can really get away with as much flying close air support. So I was able to go and deal with the needs of my babies, and they are needy babies, I tell you. Another thing, you need to not head on an IL-2. He was at rather low energy, just coming off of his airfield, and he came for me, which is pretty great. You know, it's nice to see when the enemy team is down to their last 2 people, which is the case here. This is late game stuff. I just came back to finish the match and finishing the IL-2. You can see we played the energy game, and we also played aggressively, just enough to deal with him as quickly as possible. And kudos to him, he never stopped trying. You can see some of his tracers coming up toward me. He was a good IL-2 pilot. Now we're doing some ground strike, and we already took some fire, not from an enemy aircraft, but from field anti-air. So they didn't kill us, but we're as good as dead. You can see we have an oil leak on our engine and a coolant leak. You always get both of those with the J21, and that guarantees that our engine's gonna die sometime within the next 3 or 4 minutes. It's not a slow death the same way it is for, say, a P-47. So even very light damage to your engine is a death certificate. So we're heading back to the airfield, and we're going to get engaged by the last remaining enemy player. And you can look at our engine temperatures already in the kill zone. So we actually shut off our engine for a second to get that emergency cooling, and then pop it right back on to maintain flight speed. We need to be as efficient as possible. We are limping back to the airfield, and I don't think we're gonna make it. So really, at this point, I'm only counting on the points advantage we got from killing those 2 pillboxes to win this match, if we're going to win this match. Until the PE-2 shows up. Now, he was hanging out around his airfield during the time I was fighting the IL-2, and then he took a firm grip on his trousers, buckled his pants, and came in to take me down. Surviving the head-on, that was my best chance to take him down. I have no engine power left. I'm barely keeping this thing in the air, and if the PE-2 understood that, I know he wouldn't have played so aggressively with me here. But he thinks that he's got to use whatever advantage he can get, and he's right under normal circumstances. If Airfield AA didn't kill my engine, that would have been the right play to make. Lucky for me, I took down his tail control, so I know that his time is limited, but look at me! My engine is going from red to black in seconds here, and I need to find a place to put this plane on the ground. If I can manage to land without causing serious damage to the airplane, the game will think that I'm still in the fight, and I could win this one if that PE-3 eventually goes down. So I could last for minutes like this. I could even win on score because of the little bit of ground strike that I did. So that's my strategy that I'm going with here, and we get a beautiful soft landing at the same time that the PE-2 goes down. So that's the introduction to this video. It was a fun match, and it's something that never would have happened in a ground RB cast or anti-cast situation. So my apologies for all of the talking bad I've done about air RB. I think that as much as it does have its issues, matches like this are something you can never get in another game mode, or if you were to change up things in the game mode, you wouldn't get a match like that. So there's definitely still a place for air RB. Now, a replay sent in from Reddit by someone that I saw bragging about a great match that I had, and again, I encourage you guys to brag about your good matches. It really feels good to see other people doing well in the game, and when you have one of those monster games, like, I want to know, man. And I also want the opportunity to tell you that there's this guy that posts videos on Toshio Thunder YouTube, and if you send in your replay, then he might get a chance to feature you on the channel. And I have the suspicion that Satan666 and this youth pastor might have some disagreements about some worldview life choices. But let me tell you, I'm happy to feature the Ferdinand tank destroyer on the channel. It's one of those extremely powerful vehicles that is evidenced by its very high repair cost that sort of flies under the radar for a lot of people. It's not the main line meta, which is mobility and firepower, but it does have the firepower along with a fantastic reload rate, so you have the chance to kill things in one shot in rapid succession. And that's one of the few strengths that this vehicle has. Mobility, forget it. Maneuverability, get out of here. But if you're looking for something that can lock down a lane of traffic, if you're looking for a vehicle that has the kind of armor and survivability that mean you just straight up win against a good half the vehicles that can face you, and the rest still need to fear your powerful long 88, then the Ferdinand might be for you. It's one of those vehicles that's definitely feast or famine, as they say. It's an area control vehicle, very similar to the 6.7 Jagdtiger in that sense, and might I recommend the 6.7 Jagdtiger. When that thing went down in BR, I started rubbing my hands together. It's an incredible vehicle, and yet it has a much, much longer reload than the Ferdinand, and that is really where the Ferdy comes to the fore. It's difficult for people to line up a one-shot kill or a crippling shot against a Ferdy. You have decent field of fire, especially if you set up for long-range engagements the way you see on this perfect map, where a good half of the map, including one of the capture zones, is on the other side of this kill zone straight shot field. And you can see 666, Mark of the Beast, doing his best to take advantage of that situation and reaping the benefits. An interesting thing about the name Satan, it comes from the Hebrew Hasatan, which means the accuser. That's right, the what would you call it, the prosecuting attorney is sort of the term we would use. The accuser, the one who convinces us to do bad things and then tattles on us. What an asshole. But far be it from me to speak poorly of divinities. There's a passage in the Bible that talks about people that talk smack about everything, even powerful beings that they don't understand. And the example that, who was it that wrote that? I can't remember if that was John or someone else. But the example he used about people that speak poorly of those in high places was actually where he said, hey, don't be like those people that speak poorly of those in high places, because when when the angel Gabriel, was it Gabriel? I think so. When the angel Gabriel contended with Satan over the body of Moses, and already you're like, what? I mean, even people that know their Bible are like, what? Okay, man, keep talking. Angel fighting over the body of Moses? Okay, so what was going on here? It says that this angel did not bring a railing accusation. In other words, he didn't say, Satan, you asshole. He didn't bring a railing accusation against Satan, but said, the Lord rebuke you. In other words, I'm not going to talk smack about you, even though you're being ridiculous right now, trying to steal somebody's body. My goodness, that's wild, right? Creepy stuff. And yet he said, hey, may God deal with you. I'm not even going to touch this. It's outside my jurisdiction. Interesting. Has absolutely nothing to do with this replay, but this is what happens when you let a youth pastor make videos. Up to 9 kills already in a point-and-click adventure in the Ferdinand, and that is exactly the way you want a match to turn out for one of these area control vehicles. Now, at 6'3", 6'7", Germany has the advantage that they have a good number of area control vehicles with this long 88. You've got the Tiger II in the P or the H variant, or the 105. You have the Ferdi, you have the Jagdtiger, you even have things like the Jagdpanther that can come through for you in that regard to a certain extent. And what that means is that if you and your teammates set up shop in a critical part of the map, or just a popular part of the map, with your field of fire established, you don't need to move and shoot, you don't need to run and gun, you're there and the enemy's coming to you. In a defensive gameplay style like that, which is the best situation you can be in War Thunder. It's not always what's going on, but it's a good spot to set yourself up for, getting into a good position and waiting for the fish to come to the fry. If you're in that situation, there are a number of German vehicles that can do very well for you, and none of them are more suited to that situation than the Ferdinand. Now, I've talked about the weaknesses this vehicle has, and it definitely has them. You need to be aware that anything to the side of your gun by even a little bit is gonna laugh and lick you up. But play your cards right, and if the enemy team is willing to move into your kill zone, or forced to, in this case, I think the Allies are just pushing very hard, much harder than they really need to. As you see, they control a good half of the map. They just need to get control of the center, and that's not what all of their teammates are doing. A lot of them are pushing forward, trying to camp the spawn, which is something I've talked about in another video. It's a map design issue. Anyway, I encourage you all, camp the spawn until spawn camping becomes untenable, so that Gaijin is encouraged to make spawn camping untenable by designing maps where it doesn't pay off to attempt to spawn camp. Anyway, that's an issue for another time. I'm with you on that one. And look at the amount of damage that Hasetan has been able to absorb here. but not enough to deal with close air support, and that is the best counter to these area control vehicles. They don't have any kind of anti-aircraft capability outside their main gun, and if you come down and dive bomb one of those heavily armored vehicles, they also don't have the mobility to escape your exploding bomb. So I recommend that people try, get good, and play CAS. It's a lot of fun, it's vital, and it's not overpowered the way it used to be. There are some very effective CAS platforms in the game, but at this point they're more the exception than the rule, and they also have their limiting factors. It's harder to kill people with bombs than it used to be. The heavy cannon aircraft don't have the accuracy or the one-shot kill capability that they used to have, so they're actually fairly well balanced. You can get a lot more kills locking down an area of the map with a ground vehicle, as Mr. Satan here has demonstrated very effectively with a vehicle that's not really meta. It just excels in a certain area, and that's exactly where our guy has put his focus, and the enemy team played along with that perfectly. Getting a side shot on an American heavy tank that also sits at 6'3", doesn't really matter what your battle rating is. If you present your side armor to that long 88, you're not going to have a good day. And that is the end. With 12 kills and failing to accomplish victory, no means his own shortcoming. Satan666 with the replay from Reddit. I loved sharing my time with you guys today. I'm glad I got a chance to make this video. Life is pretty busy. It's pretty crazy, and my girls really ask a lot of me, and I'm happy to provide. But I would love to see the replays that you guys send in. I see those coming in from Toshio Thunder Discord. There's a link to that in the description. That's a great way to get a hold of me, and you might see me on Reddit sometime. I just found out there's a way to direct message people, so DM me if you'd like to send in a replay. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye bye.